Hey there folks, welcome back to the review. Today I am doing a long overdue review of a game that's a little different from the normal wheelhouse here. Normally I do reviews on older TCGs or CCGs, quote-unquote dead games that people classify as a dead game. It is still a TCG or CCG. And I know that I had one other exception. I didn't review it, I just did a game recording of one match of Dice Masters, which I did a while back, and that is a currently supported game by WizKids. But like I said, every other game you've seen me do is a game that is not currently supported by the original company that produced it, hence aka non-current, quote-unquote, TCGs or CCGs. Today is another exception. This is a current TCG or CCG, and in fact, it's very current. And it's had, I think it's on its fourth set now. It came out 2 or 3 years ago. Let me see the copyright date on here. Yeah, wow, 2018 for the current set I'm looking at. So yeah, it's only been a few years. And that game is MetaX. Or Metacross, however you want to call it. And this is a game, let me just tell my fans, and let me just tell you guys how this all happened. I had seen a playthrough of the Metacross game with one of the DC sets on a YouTube video, and I just had put the comment down, sort of a brash, top of my head reaction, knee-jerk reaction comment about how it seems like it's ripping off a game. As I get to the details, you'll see why you'll see what I meant by that, in terms of why my initial impression was that. But it seemed like a knockoff of another game that I absolutely love. In fact, what I consider the greatest CCG of all time created, it seemed like a knockoff of that. And so I had a knee-jerk reaction, typed in a comment, and then the good folks at MetaX or Metacross emailed me back and said basically they appreciated the comment and explained why the summons were there, and that this is made by someone who too also loved the same game I loved. That one of the designers of this Metacross game or MetaX was a fellow player of this other game, which I'll mention when we get to mechanics and as I dive into the game. And asked, they said they'd be happy to send me a care package for me to actually try this out and really give this game a chance. And I appreciated that instead of a strike back or you idiot critic kind of review, which you can get on the internet, So I appreciate that. I was like, okay, sure, I'll give it a try, because I like to discover TCGs and CCGs of various types, new or old. I like trying them out. True, my fond is usually the older ones, but I like trying new ones as well. In fact, Magic, Force of Will, I play those currently. And those are current TC or CCGs. So, they said yes, and they sent me the package. Unfortunately, this video is a little bit later getting out, just because I've had a lot of things going on. I've had surgery, and as I mentioned last video, and a lot of other things that vied for my attention. So it was really delayed, and I apologize. For those good folks, if MetaX or Metacross, if you good folks who sent me the care package are watching this video, I apologize. I really wanted to get this out sooner, but here it is. So here's my covering of it. So I'm going to walk through the card types, just show a little run through of game mechanics, and give you my overall opinion of this game, or overall review. So, again, the game is Metacross or MetaX. Now, this game is designed to be a game, one system, to allow multiple different universes or worlds to collide into one big battle. And that's not just various comic book properties, it's meant to be for non-comic book properties as well. Hence, the third set being Attack on Titan, which we all know is an anime property. Definitely not a comic book property. So, the way it works is pretty simple. I'll go through the core here. And the first two cards, when I explain them in tandem, again, that's where it's going to be, for those who are familiar with the Overpower, it's going to just scream at you like, oh my gosh, this is so much like Overpower. But when I get to the actual interaction mechanics, and you'll see some of those differences. But let's go for the card types. There are 3 main card types in this game. characters, battle, and event cards. So let's go over the character cards really quick. Now, the character cards are going to have a name, a picture, a keyword on there, the card type, and then a special ability down there if there's going to be one, and then off to the left, you're going to have possible of up to 3 different stats. A barbell, which represents strength in red, gears in blue, which represents intelligence or intellect, I forget which one they call it, and then a little green atom icon, which indicates ability. And those are the 3 stats. So let me just also, upper right hand corner of every character card, you're going to have an MP with a plus or minus with a number box. And that deals with the resources of the game, which I'll go through as I explain the game. So here is an example of a character card. So as you can see on here, you've got, again, all those items I talked about. Picture, name, the MP, plus or minus number, stats with the number, game effect in the center there, trait below the picture, card type below that trait, and of course rarity and so forth. So that's the character card. Now, really the bulk and main of the game, besides the character cards, but even more than the character cards, would be the battle cards. Now, the battle cards are going to have a lot of the same format, an MP plus or minus number upper right hand corner, and then a picture in the center with a name at the top, the card type below the name, and then of course below the picture a card text for an ability if there is one on there. Then on the top left hand corner, you're going to have a ability type and value indicated on that card. So for example, this one I'm going to show you is a level 6 intelligence or level 6 intellect. I think it's intelligence, if I'm pretty sure what they call it in this game. But let me pull this out. Sorry, there you go. And hopefully this will focus. Come on. Focus. Okay, come on. There we go. So you see there, this is a 6 intellect battle card. Now the battle cards are going to be cards that you play during the course of attacking or defending, and they are lined up in conjunction with the character stats. So let me go back to this character card. Now the one that I showed you was Captain Levi. Again, he had a 3 strength, 5 intelligence, and a 6 ability. What I showed you was a 6 intelligence battle card. What that means is that he can play up to 5 in value in battle cards that are intelligence. So in terms of what I showed you, he would not be able to play that level 6 intelligence battle card that I just showed you, because his intelligence rating is 5, not 6. Now at this point, the obvious simulators are going to come screaming at you. If you're familiar with Overpower, you're going to be saying, wait a minute, that's exactly like Overpower. And again, I couldn't help the comparisons when I saw the video, and so it was very obvious to me that, holy cow, yeah, that's the value type comparison to the stats requirement to play is exactly like Overpower. So if you play Overpower, that's not going to be foreign. It's going to be very familiar to you. Unlike, and basically these battle cards in functionality represent power cards in Overpower, which had the same thing. It was a level and type, and your character had to have a stat in that level to be able to play that card to attack or defend. It's the same functionality here. Now the difference is that, again, there are battle cards that do have text on the bottom, as you saw in that example, which kick off a game effect. So it's also combining elements of special cards that were in effect, sort of combining that special card element that was an Overpower into these battle cards. So think of it as combining basically a special and a power card into one card type, calling it a battle card. That's basically what you're getting with this. But they have different symbols, whether you're attacking or defending with the card. It'll have a red X if it initiates an effect when you're attacking with the battle card, or a shield icon to indicate if it's going to be an effect that kicks off when you're defending with that battle card. And then if it has game text without either icon, then it can be either or. You can use it when you're attacking or defending with the battle card. So, That's the quick nitty-gritty explanation. Now, character cards, like I said, they're going to have text, and there will be 3 different possible symbols with this card, with character cards. A rectangular symbol, which is a symbol that means when you put the card into play, then it's going to kick off an effect. A green rectangular symbol next to the text. The other 2 symbols for a card is you're going to have the a gold circle. I think it was a gold round circle. Let me double check on that just to make sure that I'm telling you guys correctly, because I don't want to mislead you guys. One sec. Oh, purple, sorry, no. Right, so you have that. Then the other 2 symbols are just a circular ring that's purple, and that indicates that for that character's text to go off, it means you have to push the character. Now, unlike the Overpower game, which that it otherwise shares so many similarities to, this pushing is basically tapping, which again is a magic similarity. So these characters, to attack, they will have to push or tap. And then prepping is the same as untapping. So you prep or push, tap or untap, example. So when you push a character, whether it's attacking, when you push a character, that's an ability that you'll have to spend a turn instead of attacking, but to push them or tap them to kick off that effect. So again, when you play the character, put the character into play, that can kick off, or if it has the purple ring, then that's, again, you can push the character, so just tap it during your planning step to kick off an effect, instead of attacking with them or defending with them. Because the character may not attack or defend if they're pushed, if they're tapped, just like magic. And then the third possible game effect trigger for a character is going to look like a golden infinity symbol. And what that is that's a character's ability that's always going to be active as long as they're active in the field. So as long as they're active and on the board, that ability will be a continuous one that will always have an effect. It'll always be there to kick off automatically. But those are the 3 different categories of character abilities that you'll have. Okay, and then the last thing to cover is an action card, an event card, I'm sorry. And let me show you an example of that. Here is an event card, as you can see. Sorry, let me back up here. Alright, so there you go. So you've got, again, top right hand corner, an MP plus or minus number, name of the card, the type, game text there, and then rarity on the bottom. Event cards are basically another way of implementing specials that were in Overpower, but not any attack or defense kind of function. And so you play these cards during the planning step, before you get to attacking. So again, you play the card once, kicks off an effect, discard the card. And so that's the other card type. So you have those 3 card types. Again, you have event, character, and battle cards. And that's it. Those are all the card types in the game, and that's what you play with. The last thing to explain is this MP number that I've been indicating on the top right hand corner of every card, whether it's a negative, positive, or a 0 modifier. The way the game works is you have a pool of resources that you're building as you play the cards. And so you're, for example, if I played a card that had a +2 MP on the card, then the moment I play that card, your pool that starts at 0 MP points, or meta points is the full name for them, would jump up by 2. So you would have going from a 0 to a 2 in that pool when you play that card. And vice versa, if you have a card that has a -2, then it would cost 2. And when you pay the cost, your pool goes down by that amount. So if you have a 2 and you play a -2 MP card, you're going to drop from 2 to 0 meta points when you play that card. Also, like I said, it's a cost. So if you have a 0 meta points in your pool and you want to play that -2 one, you cannot, because you have 0 meta points. So you'd have to wait to build up meta points in your pool to play that negative cost one, or negative cost battle, MP costing card, whatever it is. And you start at 0 and you have a max of 10. You can never be higher than 10 and you start at 0. So that's sort of this built-up currency in the game that will dictate the more powerful or more expensive or cards, what it would cost to play those. Other cards will build the points or not cost anything. So it's a very interesting built-in resource building and management system within the cards that already are being played or used. And so I'll when I get to my review, my general thoughts, I'll give you on that. The game has 3 phases. You have a prep phase, which means you're going to go ahead and prep any pushed cards. So you're going to, again, untap any tapped cards, basically. And then you're going to draw 1 card. And then when you get to the prep stage, that's when you can play characters, play event cards, use abilities on characters that require you to prep them, to push them, I'm sorry, not prep, but you'd use any abilities on a character that requires them being pushed to fire off that ability. You do that all during the planning step. Then you go to the attack step, which is the third and final step in the game. And when you do an attack, you're going to, as the attacker, decide which character wants to attack. You're going to go ahead and push them, and then move them into the battle zone. And then you're going to go ahead and attach a battle card that they can play to that character that's attacking. You defend, and you do that with all your attacking characters. You decide who's attacking, push them, pull them forward, attach a battle card to them. Whoever is going in as a main attacker in the battlefield. So you're going to declare all your attackers, and then your opponent is going to be able to defend. And at that point, he can go ahead and defend. Defending does not require that you push a character, but they may not be pushed to defend. So any characters who are prepped, they can go ahead and decide to block with. To do that, they would go ahead and move them into the battle zone in front of whoever they're blocking, and then they would also play a battle card that they are able to play to defend. So in this game, you must be able to have, a character must have a battle card played by them that they can play in order to attack or defend. It's a requirement. So that's what's going to happen. You play that, that's what it goes. And then once that's done, once the attack defenders are done, then you go ahead and just swap battle cards. And your battle card, for example, your battle card will go on to the opposing character as a hit, and then your opponent's battle card will go on to your attacker as a hit. And then you just pull them, anyone who's not killed after placing the hits and resolving damage, anyone who's not killed will go ahead and move back into the character zone in the state that they were. So defenders will move back prepped back into the character zone. Attackers who had attacked will move back into the character zone pushed. And your turn ends, and then goes to the next person's turn. And that's really the nitty-gritty of it all. You have to build a deck of exactly 40 cards, no more than 3 of any particular card, and that's really gives you an idea of generally how the game flows. Now, my final thoughts. It took me a lot of gameplay and a lot of me just getting used to the game for me to come up with a final verdict on the game, because I was torn. I was honestly torn with the game, and this is why. The game to me seemed like it was trying to fuse a lot of different elements that really didn't go together with the theming. And I say theme is important because and let me explain that. The game, when you're evolving superheroes and they just have to take it, like, piddly minion creatures from Magic, when they engage in combat and they just have to take it, to me it feels really anti-thematic with superheroes and supervillains. They don't just take it just because they're getting in a scrap or in combat. They usually are going to defend, and defend that attack coming at them to not take damage. That's the essence of a good comic book fight, is an attack that may or may not hit, and when it's blocked, then it raises that tension and it goes back the other way. That actual blocking mechanism involved in combat with superheroes and supervillains makes it feel like a comic book experience, and that's lacking in the theme of superheroes in this game. It doesn't feel like real superheroes or villains. It feels like march orders in a line, British troops soldiers in a war. And that's all it feels like. And that's because the way they have to take the hits, and also the way KOs work in this game. Characters are far too easy to kill for it to mean or last or mean anything. The characters are much more expendable in this game, and they go fast and they can get killed real easy with this KO system in this game and the way it works. So so in terms of theming, it doesn't fit to me personally with a superhero theme. Now, that being said, let me switch to the set I actually played with, the Attack on Titan set, which I think was their best choice for what they sent me. Because I think my review would definitely be a lot harsher if it had been me experimenting with any of the DC sets. Because those are definitely supposed to be superhero themed. And it would have left a much sour taste in my mouth because, again, of the reasons I just outlined. However, Attack on Titan set, that one did not feel the same as what I would have felt if it was superheroes, or what I felt watching superhero themed games of this system going on. The Attack on Titan, I think the way the damage works for the Attack on Titan set in this system does work. I think that does fit the theme. And the reason being is because the theme is much more of a soldier theme going on. Much more of a non-superhero, down-to-earth, nitty-gritty, more realistic, though the setting is fantasy, but the combat more realistic, nitty-gritty setting of soldiers in combat. Soldiers will be wounded in combat, almost guaranteed. If it's a real struggle or fight, you're going to have casualties, you're going to have death tolls, you're going to have a lot of loss. And the way the KO system works, with the KO system and the battle cards and how you just have to take it when you go in combat, no ands, ifs, or buts about it, that resonates thematically well with the Attack on Titan set. So, what does that mean for my final thoughts on this game? I admire the system for what it tried to do. What does it mean for the system as a whole, or this game as a whole? I admire what it tried to do with implementing what it implemented into the system. I admire that because they did try to be innovative with what they already knew, loved, and were familiar with. It's very obvious, and I don't know why I didn't see when I watched the initial video that whoever designed the system was definitely familiar with Overpower, because or that they played it and that they did like Overpower, and that it wasn't just a shot, it wasn't purely a rip-off kind of attempt, because again, they did try to make it different and unique, but keep the mechanics they loved from that sort of combat system from Overpower. So I appreciate that, and they try to innovate new things in it and infuse other aspects to it. So overall, the game is very different overall than any other game out there. So it is innovative. I do have to give them props for that. So you guys at MetaX are that definitely, I have to give you props and say congrats, because that was definitely successful. You succeeded in that regard of making a very different game with these different elements combined. Even though some of those elements are very, very reminiscent of, a core mechanic from another game. Again, like I said, heavy on Overpower with some magic core mechanics infused in there, with a little bit of Pokemon with the prizes or / victory point system. So it's fun. The game itself is fun. The mechanics themselves are fun. So again, top notch for that. Very well done. So I did like the system in of itself. The system mechanics themselves are very good, very solid. It's a very fun game in that regard. So I'd give them props for that. The artwork is great, even for the DC themed version of the sets. The artwork they choose to use for all of the cards is excellent, extremely well done, very good artwork. And the accessibility to play the game is a very low learning curve. It's very simple in terms of what you have to grasp. So the entry point for this CCG is a minimum, and so it's easy for people to get into. So if you're looking to get into a CCG or TCG, definitely a plus on that, props. So I have to give them that too. So you guys, again, a lot of good things to say about this game. Now the downside. Again, I was mentioning theming. Again, with the way the combat system works, I don't feel it. I don't think it really gives us a true comic book feel with the way the mechanics system works for combat. And again, I'm emphasizing specifically the way combat works. I'm not mentioning any. I'm not saying any of the other mechanics make it not work with the comic book theme. I'm saying purely the purely the way combat is dealt with and resolved. That in and of itself is what I have an issue with in terms of comic book theming. I just don't think it works for that theme. I don't think it feels like a comic book kind of setting or a battle with the way they resolve combat, with how damage is resolved and combat itself with that theme. So that's one down. The other downside is that the draw deck has to be exactly 40 cards. To me, that's really a hindrance because I like my ideal deck size that I'm familiar with, that I've been able to build around for practically every other CCG I have ever played, has been 60 cards. That you can do at least a 60 card deck, and that's what I'm familiar with, that's what I love, and that's the room that I think is a perfect size for building your own deck in a CCG or TCG, is being able to allow that player to be able to do a 60 card deck at the very minimum. So allow them that option. So the exactly 40 card draw deck I think is a downside, so I would say that is also a negative. And like I said, so those are the two negatives I have for the game. The other last negative I'd have is I don't really like I don't really care for the Pokemon element for the victory points. I'd rather you just tracked it with health, or like Overpower did, a separate set of missions that are just moving around in Lost or Won, or some kind of health point system like Magic. I'd rather have that than actually losing resources into some victory pile that your opponent gets to collect. I really dislike that. That's part of the reason I don't like Pokemon. I don't play it because that whole prize system, being cards directly from your draw deck, put it and set aside that you will never touch again unless you can win. This is just really annoying. And then it's worse in MetaX because you have no way of getting those back. Period. No way. When that card is gone from your draw deck, you will never see it again through the course of the rest of the game. And worst yet, you have no idea what it is, just like in Pokemon with their prizes. So that really rubs me the wrong way. I don't like that. I wish they had come up with some other scoring system or other way to win, or if you're going to do victory points, then I wish it had just been a tally, like you just put a token or count up on a die or something for victory points, instead of making it your own actual resources from your draw deck that you've built in, that you've carefully calculated into a deck to work and function a certain way based on those proportions and those ratios of X number of cards of this card and that card. It's all a very specific fluid ratio system that goes into effect when I build my deck, at least. And what makes my decks function really well is because I can count on that system working. And so, I mean, so that's my only gripe. So those are my only three, drawbacks to the game, are those three that I mentioned. But again, like I said, as I started out, in terms of the pluses, there's a lot of great things to the game. But here's my overall conclusion to this review. It's a good game. It's a fun game. If you don't mind the clash in theming, if you don't mind the minimal deck size compared to the 60, if you don't mind the loss of resources with the whole prize system that they have, or the whole victory point system, if you don't mind any of that, if you can overlook any of that, then the game is definitely for you, because it is still an overall fun experience. It is still overall a well-made game. And so overall, I again would encourage everyone to try out this game. I would encourage everyone to go ahead and try to check out this game and see if it's for you. Because I guarantee you that a lot of you will have fun with the game, a lot of you will enjoy the game, and it's a fun time. Again, if you can overlook those little things that I have a problem with the game. But again, that's it. So that's my review. Again, shout out and thanks to the MetaX people who went ahead and sent me the care package. I deeply appreciate the chance I had to be able to actually play the game, and for you guys to give me that option and give me that chance. So thank you again, MetaX. Thank you again very much for giving me that opportunity to get to know the game. It was really gracious. You didn't have to do that. I really appreciate that. So the guys at MetaX are great, and they are just really awesome. So thank you again. And again, I'm always open to trying new CCGs and TCGs for any game out there, because I want people to be aware of, again, the CCG or TCG games out there. Those are fun games. I love those kind of games. So again, that's me. This is Buck from the review, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.